Hey y'all, we are going to look at the review Google Slides and check your work to see if you are correct. All right, so the first question, Jackie's work for the equation is shown. He is stuck on the last step. What should his final answer be? So here is the equation. How did he go from the first line to the second line? What did he do first? Very good, he distributed. So 2 times 3 gave me 6, 2 times negative 4x gave me the minus 8x. And then how did he go from line 2 to line 3? Looks like he kept the left side. The right side, it looks like he kept the minus 8x and he combined his like terms. So far, so good. Now, how did he go from line 3 to line 4? Looks like he has variables on both sides, so he brought the smaller over to the larger. So the opposite of minus 8x is plus 8x. That's where he got his 13x. Now it looks like from line 4 to line 5, it looks like he minused the 8 here. So he's got 13x equals 0. He needs to finish solving for x. So how are you going to finish solving for x? Divide both sides by 13. Anything divided by itself is 1. 1 times x is x. 0 divided by 13 is 0. So that is his final answer. So he was almost there. Just one little step he needed to finish. All right, which of the following, watch out for sneaky sign slips. And then it says, which of the following choices below is or are solutions to the following inequality? So it seems like it could be more than one. So think about how you're going to solve this inequality. What do you need to do first? Very good. You need to get rid of parentheses by distributing. What are you going to distribute? I need to distribute that negative 5. So leave my 3. Negative 5 times 1 is minus 5. Negative 5 times positive 2x is minus 10x. And then I have my less than negative 62. Now on the left side, do I have any like terms? It looks like I do. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. So negative 2 minus 10x is less than negative 62. Can't touch negative 10x, so I get rid of negative 2, so add 2. So negative 10x is less than negative 60. Now I want to finish solving for x, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 10. When I divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, my inequality sign flips around. Negative 60 divided by negative 10 is positive 6. Now be careful. So many of you, look at what this actually says. It says x is greater than 6. It's greater than 6. So could x be 6? No, it could not be 6. X has to be greater than 6. So if it could be greater than 6, it could possibly be 7. There really couldn't be anything else. So it made it seem like there could be more than one solution, but there cannot be. So be cautious there. Make sure with the inequalities you're answering the question. That is not the answer to the question. That helps me figure out the answer. All right, number 3 and number 4. Well, I'm going to do, actually, I did these with everybody in class as a warm-up, but I will do them with those of you that are at home. So solve the equation for a sub 1. So you have a bunch of variables here. This is a literal equation. Remember, when the whole thing's a fraction, you can't touch the numerator until you get rid of the denominator. When it's in the denominator, is it addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division? Very good, it's division. What's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So multiply both sides by 2. So a sub 1 plus a sub 2 is going to equal 2b. If you want to get a sub 1 by itself, how are you going to get rid of plus a sub 2? You're going to minus. This is just a little review from last unit. Can you subtract these? No, they're not like terms. So 2b minus a2 equals a1. And you have gotten a1 by itself, and it looks to me like my answer is where? The last one, answer D. Number 4 is another literal equation which has more than one variable. So let's see how we're going to go ahead and solve this. So you're giving qx plus ry equals s, and we want to solve for x. Well, x is right next to this q. I can't touch that whole thing until I get rid of this positive ry. I need to bring it to the other side. The opposite of positive is negative, so minus ry from both sides. This cancels to 0, and I'm just left with my qx. Can I subtract s minus ry? I can't, so just rewrite it. Now let's go ahead. I want to get x by itself, so I've got to divide by q. Since they're next to each other, it's multiplication. The opposite is division. So x equals s minus ry divided by q, which looks to me like it's option A. All right, on to number 5. Write each statement as an inequality. The temperature will be no more than 87 degrees. So can it be 87 degrees? Yes, it can. Can it be 88? No, it can't. No more than 87. Can it be 86? Yes. So it can be 87 or less. So that would be less than or equal to. Your laptop will hold a charge no more than 3 hours. So will it hold a charge for 3 hours? Yes. Will it hold a charge for 4 hours? No. No more than 4 hours. Will it hold a charge for 2 hours? Yes. So it'll hold a charge for 3 hours or less, so that's less than or equal to 3. Teenagers should get at least 8 hours of sleep each night. At least. So you can get 8 hours of sleep. What if you only get 7 hours of sleep? Is that okay? No, you need at least 8 hours. So you can get 8 hours of sleep or more. That's greater than or equal to 8. Nene works less than 6 hours every week. Every weekend. So does she work 6 hours? No, she works less than 6 hours. So she works 5 hours or less. Jimmy has more than 5 chickens. More than is your greater than sign, so he either has 6 chickens or more. All right, solve the inequality. And the question says, which interval notation describes the graph of the inequality? And then I gave you a little hint here. You will need to solve and then graph. Solve, graph, and then answer the question. All right, so it looks like I got an inequality with a bunch of stuff going on. Do I have any parentheses? I do not. Do I have any like terms on the left side? Looks like I do. It looks like I have 7x plus 2x, which is 9x. And on the right side, do I have like terms? It looks like I do. I have negative 10 plus 5, which is negative 5. So I combine my like terms. Now, do I have variables on both sides? It looks to me like I do. So bring this smaller. Positive 3x is smaller. The opposite is negative. So I got 6x minus 5 is less than or equal to negative 5. I cannot touch 6x until I get rid of the minus 5 on the left. How do I get rid of minus 5? Plus 5. So 6x is less than or equal to 0. Finish getting x by itself. Divide both sides by 6. 0 divided by 6 is 0. So x is less than or equal to 0. Well, let's graph it so we can see how I'm going to write it in interval notation. All right, what kind of circle? If x is less than or equal to 0, a closed circle goes above to show that 0 is included, and the numbers to the left are less than or equal. How am I going to write it in interval notation? Remember, you start from your number that's furthest on the left. Well, furthest on the left, doesn't this thing keep going and going and going and going and going? What's the furthest it goes on that side? The furthest it goes is negative infinity. So the only ones that start with negative infinity are the first two. So I'm going to cross out this. And then it comes from negative infinity all the way, it touches all the negatives, and then it stops at 0. And remember, 0 is included, so you should have a bracket, which would be option B. Set up an inequality and solve. So we got a little bit of a word problem here. So let's see what's going on. Stan earned $7.55 per hour plus an additional $100 in tips waiting tables on Saturday evening. He earned $160 in all. To the nearest hour, what is the least number of hours Stan would have to work to earn this much money? The least number of hours he would have to work to earn that much money. Okay, so he did 77.55 per hour. Do I know how many hours? I don't. So I'm going to let X equal hours worked. All right, so 755X plus his additional $100 that he got in tips, so plus 100. He earned 160. So I know I got my sides here. Now I got to figure out what inequality goes in the middle. To the nearest hour, what is the least number of hours Stan would have to work? So the least would be your greater than sign. The least number of hours he would have to work would be actually be greater than or equal to. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and solve here. I can't touch that till I get rid of the 100, so subtract 100. So 755X greater than or equal to, what would that be? 60? Can't touch X until you get rid of the 755, so divide by 755. So X is greater than or equal. If I go ahead and divide there, I think, what's going on here? Oops. I think I get, oh, come on. I think I get 7.9. So you're not really going to work 0.9 of an hour. So think about how many hours he would have to work. So if X is greater than or equal to 7.9, what is the least number of hours Stan would have to work to earn this much money? Stan, write out your answer, would need to work at least 8 hours. To make that much money. All right, which value of X makes the inequality a true statement? You need to make sure you're careful in answering this question. And inequality is not just the number. So this is really easy to solve. How do I get X by itself? I divide by 4. So I have X is less than 5. Does that mean that X equals 5? No! Cross it off. X is less than 5. X is any value less than 5. So it cannot be 5. I crossed 5 off. The only values here less than 5 are C and D. So it could be either one of those to make this inequality true. So be very cautious. I've noticed in the past few days as we're reviewing that a lot of you are jumping the gun and you're putting the 5 right away. No, think about what that inequality means. It's not an equation. X is not necessarily equal to that number. So be very cautious there. Solve the inequality and then answer the question. Circle all values, more than one, that would be in the solution set for this inequality. Remember, when the whole thing's a fraction, you cannot touch the numerator until you get rid of the denominator. How are you going to get rid of the denominator? When it's in the denominator, is it addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division? It's division. The opposite is multiplication. So multiply both sides by 3. They cancel there, and I'm left with the numerator. I cannot touch negative 2x until I get rid of that positive 5, so the opposite is minus 5. So I got negative 2x is less than or equal to negative 20. To finish getting x by itself, I need to do what? I need to divide both sides by negative 2. When I divide both sides of an inequality by a negative, my inequality sign gets flipped around. So I have x is greater than or equal to 10. X is greater than or equal to 10. So x is any number that is greater than or equal to 10. So could 10 be an answer? It could, because it's greater than or equal to. Could 11? Yes. Could 12? Yes. These cannot, because they are not greater than or equal to 10. All right, select all the points that are in the solution set for this inequality. Looks like I got some parentheses to get rid of by distributing. So what am I going to distribute? I'm distributing negative 4. Be careful. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Negative 4 times negative 6x is positive 24x. I don't have like terms on the left, and I don't have like terms on the right, so I'm okay. Do I have variables on both sides? I do. Bring smaller to larger. Well, guess what? They're the same. If I just bring this one over to this side by doing the opposite, what happens? It cancels to 0, and I'm left with 22. That cancels to 0, and I'm left with negative 12. So when your variables disappear, you can either have a true statement or a false statement. So let's check here. Ask yourself this: is 22 greater than or equal to negative 12? Yes, it is. So when it's a true statement, your answer is infinitely many solutions. Remember, your answer could be infinitely many solutions with this infinite sign, or it could be all real numbers. And I can use that symbol as well. They mean the same thing. So what does that mean? Infinitely many solution. It means any value of x will work. Any value of x. So could x be 3? Yes. It can be any number. Can x be 4? Yes. 5, yes. 6, yes. 7, yes. 8, yes. 9, yes. All of these would work. Any value of x that you pick is going to work, is going to satisfy this inequality. All right, solve each equation. These two types of equations can be tricky, so let's look at these and see. Remember, when the whole thing is a fraction, you can't touch the numerator until you get rid of the denominator. So multiply both sides by 7 to get rid of that denominator. And then that should be pretty basic and easy. To get a by itself, you got to get rid of the plus 3, so minus 3. So a equals 25. Now keep in mind, on this next one, the whole thing is not a fraction. Only this part is a fraction with the variable. I cannot touch that till I get rid of everything else. How do I get rid of minus 11? Opposite of minus 11 is plus 11. So that cancels, and I get k divided by 6 equals negative 20 plus 11 is what? 9? Now I can go ahead and finish getting k by itself by getting that 6 out of the denominator. And to get it out of the denominator, I have to multiply both sides by 6. So k equals 54. Okay, so be very cautious there at the difference. The difference is this whole thing is a fraction, so you can't touch the numerator till you get rid of the denominator. The difference on B is this part is just a fraction. You can't touch that until you get rid of the other thing that is with it. All right, last question. Last question, you are needing to go ahead and solve a bunch of different things here, okay, and then see what matches with what. So let's go ahead and solve this first one. I got a negative 1 there in front of the parentheses, so distribute that. Leave the negative 3x. Negative 1 times 5x is negative 5x. Negative 1 times 7 is negative 7. Now I have like terms on this left side. That gives me what? Negative 8x. So negative 8x minus 7 equals negative 2. I cannot touch negative 8x till I get rid of minus 7, so do the opposite, add 7. So negative 8x equals negative 2 plus 7 is 5. To finish getting x by itself, divide by negative 8. Kind of looks funny because it's a fraction, but it looks like it matches with this one. So this one goes with number 1. I'm going to have to erase things in order to have enough room here. So this one goes with number 1. Now let's do number 2. I have no parentheses in number 2, and it doesn't look like I have like terms on the left or the right. Do I have variables on both sides? I do. Smaller to larger, so minus the 8x. So that leaves me with 2x equals negative 6. If I divide both sides by 2, x equals negative 3. So this answer should be number 2. I'm going to erase this too so I have room for the next question. You could always go back if you need to. All right, so number 3. Remember, you can't touch the numerator until you get rid of the denominator. The whole thing's a fraction. So to get rid of the denominator, multiply both sides by 5. So I'm going to come down here. I have 4x minus negative 3 equals negative 30. Let me ask you something here. This double negative, a double negative ends up becoming a, very good, positive. So really this is just 4x plus 3 equals negative 30. Can't touch 4x till I get rid of plus 3, so minus 3. So 4x equals negative 33. Divide both sides by 4. It doesn't look like that divides evenly, but I think my answer is up top here. Very good. So this is number 3. So obviously number 4 is no solution, but we need to make sure we understand why it's no solution. We don't want to just default and say, oh, I know the answer, I'm not going to do the work. We got to prove and make sure we understand why. So let's go ahead and finish that last one. Looks like I have parentheses to get rid of, so distribute the 3 on the left. 3 times 4z is 12z. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Over on the right, it looks like I'm distributing a 6. So bring down my 7, distribute the 6. 6 times 2z is 12z. 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. I don't see like terms on the left, so I'm going to leave it. I do see like terms on the right. 7z minus 6z, or no, sorry, 7 minus 6 is 1. All right, so I did that. I combined my like terms. Now it looks like I have variables on both sides. Usually I bring smaller to larger, but they're the same. So if I do the opposite of positive 12z, what's going to end up happening? They cancel to 0, and I'm left with negative 3 on the left. They cancel to 0, and I'm left with positive 1 on the right. Remember, when your variables disappear, it's either going to be a true statement or a false statement. Does 3 equal 1? No, it doesn't. Put a slash so you know when you're telling me it doesn't equal. And if it's false and it doesn't equal each other, your answer is no solution. Either write it out or put your symbol. And that means there is no number that can be plugged in for z that would satisfy this equation. Hopefully y'all did well. If you have any issues, email me or send me a remind message.